Oh, all right. Hello. Today I just wanted to do this video. It's going to be kind of explaining what the Hyper Battle cards are for the Vintage One Piece. We're going to look at how they were distributed, some examples of each sets. We're going to look at what sealed is and how you can find it. So we're going to get started. First thing we want to know is, how did people actually get cards? Because it's very different than the booster packs that we're used to today, cases and boxes. The way that these were distributed were in a vending machine. So this would be the first thing kids would see. The very first thing they saw was the first stage one, but I don't have that, so this is the third stage one. And this would be on the front of a vending machine. And then they would put in 100 yen, turn a crank, and they would get a pack of cards out. Inside the cards were 4 cards, and then they would open those up. And at the end of the video, I'm actually going to open up a couple so you can see that. But here is how that they were distributed. So this is just on the machine display, and these side things would fold over, so it's rectangle. So let's see that. You can also find the display sheets that are just a rectangle. This is Grand Line Compilation 3. And so that's another way to find them. But all of these stages pretty much arrived in the same way. So let me go ahead and show you how they come. So this is known as a long box, and this is stage 3. So inside here, you're going to find that there are 2 boxes. Each box contains 40 obi, is what they're often called, because obi is Japanese for belt. That's the little white thing that comes around the OC. And 4 cards in there, and there's usually another card, sometimes 2, of ephemera advertising something coming up. And so when you look at it, you can see there's no tape residue in there because these weren't taped. These were never meant for consumers to see. You look here, you can see there's a little imprint. That's where the person opened it to check on these. A lot of times if you buy these, especially from Japan, they have opened them up to make sure that what's inside is what's supposed to be. So sealed is not something you're going to see here near as much, or you just have to have a different definition of sealed. So, and then when you open this up, you're going to get 2 of these. Well, these are vending boxes. So you can see there's another one down in there. So this one you will find taped, except if you look here, you'll see that it's yellowed, which is a good sign. That means it's been there for a long time. That's hard to fake. I think people are starting to do some fake ones here, but that's only rumors I've seen. But you'll see this, and you'll see that a lot of times the cardboard just has pushed up a little bit and the tape is broken. Like I found like a little piece that I could just take off the outside of the tape that wasn't sticky anymore and put back. So I see that. So when you open this up, you're going to see 40 sets of cards in here. And so what would happen would be the machine operator at like convenience stores, were one of the biggest places where they had them, would take these, get them in a stack, and then they would load them into a machine. And then when the kid wanted his cards, they would put a coin in the machine and 100 yen for these. When they first started out, I think it was 20 yen, but One Piece wasn't around then. But I have some Gundam cards that were 20 yen from 1989. But this one particularly started a little bit later, so it was 100 yen. That's inflation for you. And then one of these would come out and would actually go through some mechanical rollers. You'd turn a knob and it would roll it out. So a benefit of having these is they've actually never gone through a roller. There's still going to be some factory defects that we'll talk about later. But if you can get a vending box like this you've avoided one trap of the condition problems that you might have with these older cards, is that these never went through the rollers that are inside the machines. And if you want to see what a machine's like, you can look up Carddass vending machine, and you should be able to find some pictures of those with the displays on them. So that is how they arrived. As I said, we'll take a look at the end and open up a couple. And there were initially 7 sets issued via the vending boxes. The first one, and we're going to look at some cards here, is Stage 1. So that came out in 1999. I do not have a Stage 1 box. I would definitely show it off if I did, but unfortunately I do not. But these are the very first one-piece TCG cards that ever came out. There were some promos and maybe some like food, like you'd buy food and you get a card with them. But for the most part, this is it. This is ground zero. And this is Luffy C05. The one that if you go online, you might see a lot of talk about, the big boy, is Luffy C01. And that's the first card in the first series. It's a foil. It's really hard to find in good shape. So you get those. So here's Luffy. And here's Zoro. And this is interesting because this is where people are starting to talk about rookie cards in Hyper Battle. So grabbing something from the sports section. And this is his first appearance, C06. However, this is his first Kira, or foil card, and that's C07. So right now, I see people calling this the rookie card, and this. Ultimately, they're both cool cards. It really doesn't matter what you call them. If you can get them and you love them, that's what matters. So there's the Zoro. Here's a Buggy foil. Of course, we got Nami. This is her first appearance, so AKA rookie card. This one is a beautiful Straw Hat crew when it was only the 3 amigos right here before we picked up anyone else. I really like this card. And Shanks. So you'll see that there were some blue cards. In the very first, simplest form of the game, there were the character cards that I just showed you. And then there were also the blue cards. And they were used in the game for like powerful one-time type effects. So that was the game. And I'm not going to go through the rules of the game or anything like that. We can take a quick look. The card numbers down here, the years here, and then this is going to be like the player, what they do, and then this is usually what they call like a flavor line. So it's like a quote from Nami somewhere in there. And then there's different types, so you could organize them. You could organize them by types if you're trying to organize your collection. You know, so you'll see Zoro has a symbol that means he's a swordsman. And then it's all the same stuff there. So that is the 1999 cards. Now those came out in November of 1999, and they're Stage 1. And there are 42 cards in the set. So you'll get 160 cards if you get a whole vending box. There's not a guarantee that you'll get all the cards in the set, but you'll probably get most of them. And usually if you open up a box, you'll get a foil about every 4th pack or so. So that's 1999. Let's go ahead now and take a look at some Stage 2 cards so you get a sense of what we have here. So Stage 1 was Romance Dawn, Orangetown. Stage 2 is Orangetown and Syrup Village. So here is Luffy C35, and I won't say all the numbers. You'll see here's a Zoro that's nice. And I love this card. You know, Zoro's here. You got your Luffy. Another crew card. You'll see Usopp has joined the crew because, you know, we made it to that point in the story. Here's one where we've got Saji introduced. And here's another Luffy. Now, one thing I really want to point out is that this is the back of a hyper battle. There are other cards, and I wish I had one around, but they look like the boards, wooden boards together, and they say more colorful in the middle. Those are not hyper battle. I see them advertised all the time as people trying to find the search words that people are looking for. And those are the second generation one that came after this game. So if it doesn't have this back, it is not hyper battle. It's the One Piece card game. Second generation is what they call it for Chinese collectors. And it started after this in 2002. So that's stage 2. That was in January of 2000. Stage 3, also 42 cards. That came out in April of 2000. And there's some grand boxes that we're going to get to that came between these, but right now I'm just going to go through the 7 stages so you get an idea of what cards are in each one. This is a favorite. Obviously, this third stage was the Bharati plus the movie, so you get Krieg in here. So here's a character card. Obviously, this is a favorite of mine, and I think a lot of other people, just an iconic scene. And you get another crew shot. And of course, Kelgara, the crazy guy that appears there. So that was third stage. It came out in April of 2000. If you're paying attention, you'll notice it's about every 2 months. These happened real fast. You know, they would be there for 2 months in the vending machines, and then they'd get a new one. They would switch out the machine mount, so you're, you know, looking at something different. You're like, oh, Grand Line Compilation 3 came out. If you were a child in Japan in around the year 2000. So here's some stage 4. That's going to be the end of Bharati and getting into Arlong Park. So we'll see that we've got one on here. And people love this card because it's an awesome card. It's just beautiful. Here's Nami. And as you see, Arlong Park. Kids don't smoke, but, you know, Saji, you go ahead. You're a fictional character and your lungs will never get cancer. I really like this one a lot because it just looks so simple and vintage and old, this Zoro. And then later on, they changed the game again. And so you've seen cards that start with C. The blue cards start with S. We'll get to some red cards later on, but these are field point cards, and they would change the whole where the game was played, so they would stay on there. But for our purposes, what you get is some really cool landscape shots, and I've got some more of these that we'll look at. So that's 4th stage. Now let's look at stage 5. Now stage 5 was August of 2000. This is probably one of the more famous cards from stage 5. And I actually do have a map from that. There's the display that would go in the machine for the 5th stage cards. So you'll see like some of these cards will be in there. So you've got Luffy. Always love to get Zoro in an action sword shot. Luffy beating up Arlong. Saji taking it to the face. And here we've got Shanks. And as I said, this is a blue one, so it's going to be an S on there. I don't know if you can see that, but this is S53, I think. And you'll see there's the card. Here's 5th stage. Moving right along. I meant to get these things cleared out. Oh, interesting side note. So if you take a look at this one, you can see it's obviously shaped different. Now, these I love and they're collectible, and CGC will actually grade these. They'll go in a jumbo card holder. I don't know if PSA does yet, but CGC does. However, if you get it in this form, they won't because it's just too big. Now, this is really cool because the kids would actually never see this art. This would get folded in, it would be a rectangle, and these would be inside the machine. So the only people that would ever see those were the people that installed or uninstalled the machines. But Bandai still took the time to throw some really cool art in here. So CGC doesn't do these, but these are really awesome display machine mounts. I've seen them called different things. Moving on, stage 6. Now the 6th stage came out in November of 2000, and it also had 42 cards. And this is the Logtown and Warship Island one. So we've got Luffy, and we've got some S1s. Straw Hat Crews are a big favorite. Now this one, I want to show you something, because now let's talk about condition. You saw how they were in the boxes here. There was no plastic around them or anything, so even when you pull it fresh out of the vending box, it's not the same as getting a modern card because it just isn't protected as well. They weren't even thinking about it. So you might pull it out and there might be some corner damage or anything. But the biggest factory flaw on the foil cards, let's see if you can see it, it's going to be right here, is a print line. Yeah, there you can see it. So you'll get those on foils. I haven't seen on any of the matte finish common cards, but on foils, this is unfortunately very common. We'll flip it over and you look here. And this one is nice in that if you look, there's a tiny bit little corner fray there, but most of them look pretty good. And up at the top, you'll see a little bit tiny corner fray. So that's going to be what you're going to look for if you're looking at fresh out of the box, because hopefully there's no other damage. The surface should be good as long as it wasn't kept in too humid an environment. So as long as someone kept it well, the main things you're looking at is any edge or corner damage and print lines. So that's there. And these are also from stage 6. Really cool. Zoro, and we've got Dragon here that's coming into the story because that's the Logtown type Warship Island. And that brings us to the last stage that was around in vending, and that's the 7th stage, which is Reverse Mountain to the Grand Line. So you see they always start out with the Straw Hat Crews near the beginning of the numbering. Saji foil right there. And hey, Laboon. This is just a cool card from the history of the game. And then this one, great shot of the Going Merry as they're, finally making their way to the Grand Line. And then, oh, one more. Yeah, that's Luffy just kicking some butt. So those are the 7 stages, the ones that all came like this. So you will never find a booster pack of these. You'll never find a sealed booster box. The closest you're going to get is going to be this. And these are pretty rare. If you do find any available on the market anymore, they're usually single vending boxes. These have been broken up or people didn't ever have them. This is how they would arrive at the stores, but now what's left is often just these. But that wasn't the only way to get cards. The machine was one way. They also started introducing grand boxes. So these were the retail product. You can see there's the retail hanger on there, and this would be available in the store, not a machine, and you could pick it up. So this is Grand Box 1. It was in March 2000. So this came out between 2nd stage and 3rd stage. So pretty early in the product life cycle. These are pre-made decks. Now, if you look here, this has 38 cards in it, but the entire Grand Box line has 60. And that is because Bandai didn't want to just sell one box or one pre-made starter decks we would play. So this introduces a new card, and the new card is a gold foil stamp. If you look closely, you can see there's a gold foil shanks there. And there's 3 different gold foils, and you get a different deck depending on the gold foil. What that really means for Bandai was people would have to buy multiple starter decks to try to get all of the cards. So, you know, if you buy it and you get Luffy 3 times in a row, you still have to try to find 2 more. But so those are the Grand Box 1. And then the next thing that came out was Grand Box 2. Oh, and I forgot to show you the cards. Here, let's take a look at some of the cards from Grand Box 1. So I don't have a ton from here. I haven't opened that one that I have, but I have some that I procured. And these are all common. There are foils in there, and I do have some gold stamps I'll show you for some of the other boxes. But here's the box 1. Getting back to this one. This is another one where we're looking at some pretty good quality. I thought there was a print line here, but maybe I identified the wrong one. So those are going to be your Grand Box 1 cards. Grand Box 2, which is right here. Now, Grand Box 2 was Arlong Park. So we've got Shigi, of course, Arlong. I like this card a lot with the foot going all the way out of the board. You can see they're starting to experiment with a little more full art type thing. Oh, I'm looking at this. Perfect example. This is actually not from box 4. So if you look right here, there's an RC up there. So that means this is a reprint. So I need to reorganize that. This is how tricky it is with those. So we'll talk about that when we get to the Treasure Pack Volumes 1 and 2. Those are the final things. And then once again, you get your field points, which are the landscape ones. So same thing here. When you're looking at buying them, they actually didn't have a factory seal right here. It was just open. So if you see tape there, that usually means sellers would tape them closed. And the reason for that is kids would try to open it and see which gold foil was inside. And there's one we'll take a look at later. And this also has 38 cards. That changes going forward. So our next one we're going to look at is, this is Grand Box 3. Also 38 cards, also 60 total, also 3 different gold foil stamp cards that you'll see. You get that. And so here, you'll see your first gold foil to show you. So if you look there, this is the smoker. So if you had this one on the top, you're dealing with a smoker deck. And the rest of it's going to be ones to support there. So these are some of the other cards you might find in there. You can see Dragon came onto the scene. So there is your Grand Box 3. And the next one we'll look at is Grand Box 4. Now, you'll see that they did a little cost-saving measure here, and there's only 32 cards in Grand Box 4. There's still 60 in the set, but you're only getting 32 here. And Grand Box 4 was really Whiskey Peak area. April 2001 is when this came out. It was after 7th stage. So we're getting a little later in the game here for those. Because it didn't run that long. I mean, basically, this game ran from 1999, the very end of it, to the very beginning of 2002. That's the entire run. So we're looking at about 2 years. They were putting out a new set, you know, or a booster every 2 months or so through that, and then it was done. So let's take a look at this one. You'll see the Crocodile card. This one, of course, gets a lot of attention because anything with Nami gets attention, especially things like that. Here you can see the snow gear and another crew shot that is in box 4. So there's some really cool cards in box 4. Obviously, if you can get a hold of one, that'd be great. Now these are sealed. I'll open one up. These are not empty boxes. So let's open up a 5, but first let's get it. So the Grand Box 5, the last of the numbered ones. And you can see they stuck with the 32 cards, 60 cards, same 3 liters. And here's some of the cards you might get in there in Grand Box 5. Zorro. This Zorro is just pretty awesome. Nami. Warriors, Nami. And I put these in here because if you are a big Chopper fan, then Grand Box 5 has kind of the whole evolution of different things, forms that he has, which I think is really cool. Now, somewhere along the line, they added some complexity to the game. And so they added these cards, which are red cards for Hyper. And they were usually like a strong support card with special abilities. And they were not in the first version of the game that came out, but there are 3 different rule sets. This one was used in the EX, and the final one was the Grand Rules, as they added some complexity. And this is one of the favorite crew shots. This is in Grand Box 5, and it's very, very awesome card. So there's your Grand Box 5. And we're almost done with Grand Boxes, but they did come out with this one. This is very much near the end. This is November 2001. And remember, final ones were really 2002 January. So this is right near the end. And this one, they changed things up a little. It's a bigger box because it's got more cards. There's a play mat in here. There's a other side has a really cool poster that you can flatten out and put up. But you'll see this is a much bigger set. 168 cards. And you've got 70 in here. There's 2 decks. There's a Straw Hat deck led by Luffy, and there is going to be a Crocodile deck that's obviously led by the Crocodile team over there. And so this one is, as I said, the last Grand Box that came out. So there's 6 total Grand Boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and DX. And let's take a look at some of these DX cards that you can get in here. And there aren't any gold foil stamps in this one. So this is your Luffy leader. This one is an awesome Zoro card. I use awesome too much, but Chopper, Nami. No. Here's Crocodile and his crew, Crocodile, and like I said, some of these field point cards, this is field point 44, just, you know, great landscape pictures. So those of you that love great scenes from the show, field point cards are pretty cool to get. Now, we're not quite done because even though they did 7 sets, stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in those Grand Boxes, they also did Grand Line compilations. So this is Grand Line Compilation 1. And Grand Line Compilation 1 came out, if I am thinking correctly, between, yeah, I don't remember. These came out after the other ones. So we're looking at Grand Line Compilation 1. This is another long box, same set. There's 3 Grand Line compilations. Compilation 1, Compilation 2, Compilation 3. And I do have some cards from it for you here to look at. So let me just get down to Grand Box Compilation 5. Okay, so this box right here, Grand Line Compilation 1. Here's some of the nice cards from here. Zoro, Nami, our 2 giants sending the ship off. There they are again. An amazing Zoro foil right here. One of our red cards, Nami, the H cards. Everyone loves Fat Luffy, and everyone loves Vivi. So those are just some of the cards from Grand Line Compilation 1. Now, when we get into Grand Line Compilation 2, right, we got those, and here are some of the cards that you might see in Grand Line Compilation 2. Now, here's Zorro, and this is something that you might see. So let's take a look-see at this one. Right. So I didn't pull this one from a pack. And if you look at it, it looks to me like it was high humidity and probably got stuck to the card that was on top of it. Or, some kid bought it, had it in a stack. But because the rest of it's pretty clean, I mean, you got normal edge wear that you're going to see because people did not sleeve and top load these right away. They would play with them or throw them in binders. So you'll often get this if conditions weren't right. And it's going to surface. There's no print line, but the surface is definitely compromised for that one. That's Grand Line Compilation 2. And there is a final Grand Line compilation, and that is Grand Line Compilation 3. And so here you'll get, Grand Line Compilation 3. Now this is where Ace first comes in. Also you can see there's the Luffy snowboard one. And I don't know why that's there, but that's another booster pack. I think I grabbed the wrong ones for that. Sorry about that. We need Grand Line Compilation 3. All right. So I don't see where I put those right now, but you get the idea. So that is basically how you get them, except they did one final thing. What they did was they put out the very first booster packs. So this is Treasure Pack Volume 1. This came out in September 2001. So kind of in the middle of everything, right before Grand Box 5, after 7th stage, right after Grand Box 4. And this is the first time that they actually have booster packs. So here's the booster box, and you'll open it up, and there's 191 cards in there. This is Volume 1. And when you open it up, you're going to see a booster like this. And now we're back in familiar TCG CAD land where we're opening up some boosters. So the thing about these is they're reprints. And that's what we're looking right here for. So if you see, if I can get it good, there's an R on there. All of the ones that start with R and have anything up here, those are from the treasure packs, and they're reprints of other cards. Now, they didn't make a lot of these, so from what I've seen, it's more rare to find the treasure pack ones than the actual ones. Whether or not the market thinks anything of that, I don't know, but these, at least from my experience, seem hard to find. And if I'm wrong there, or if I'm wrong about any of this, please drop some comments below, because I'm always looking to learn more about these things. So that's Treasure Pack Volume 1. And then they came along, and this is the final Hyper Battle product before they, mothballed, I guess, the Hyper Battle line and got ready for the next one. And once again, you'll get those. I think there's 15 boosters in each one. This is Volume 2. So that's what you'd get. So those boosters. Now there's a couple things I wanted to do. I have not opened this one yet, so I don't know what leader's in there. So let's go ahead and take a look, and then we'll open a couple of those, and that's going to be the end of it. So this is Grand Box 5, and see how it's not sealed? This is how you know it's sealed. So a lot of Japanese sellers will say this is new, sealed, and even though you can open it up, These cards have never been opened, the ones in the cellophane. So curious as to what I'm gonna get. And they're tightly packed in here because there's also a guide in there. But oh, crocodile. So this one's going to be the crocodile deck. Now, one thing, hopefully maybe some of you can tell me, I don't know if the crocodile decks are all exactly the same, because remember there's only 32 cards here and there's 60 in the set. So I don't know if all the crocodile packs are the same, because I've never opened up two of the same box. But I do know each of the three are different, and there's 3 leaders in each one. So you can find out those. And then also in here, as I said, you're going to get this bad boy. And, you know, this is history. Don't throw any of this away. This is the really cool stuff. Like, that box should stay because people didn't save this. And you know, it's the history of a One Piece, which is, you know, the most important manga ever, but also just one of the more important stories as far as global audience goes. So this has the instructions and then a play mat on this side. I have not played Hyper Battle. What do I expect to? But now let's go back. As I said, we're going to open some up. So I'm going to open up a couple sets for you. A couple obi, that's a group of 4 cards. So usually when I do this, I'm pretty careful with the filming. So let me get my counter here, and I'll call this my little cutting board, and don't get scared. And so we'll go here. I always count from here going back off the side. And then I'm just gonna get the first one. That way when I pull this video later, I know this is the very first pack, and I do that. So obviously when you pull it out, you can see the front card. Wapol, obviously, right here. C447. Now, some people slide this off. The problem I've had with that is I've seen some wear across the top when I do that, because it's been sitting there so long. You know, in this case, when did Grand Line Compilation 2 come out? It was like 2001 sometime. So it's been sitting around for 25, 26 years. It's a little stuck. So what I've found works better is put this here, and then this is just divided with a sleeve over it, so I can easily slide it under here. And then I'm just going to cut right along here. Now some people will say, don't cut the obi, that's like, keep it intact. Yeah, I'm keeping it intact. We can still look at it, but now I don't risk damaging the cards, which is more important to me than the obi. And I like to peel it off here so it never touches. And then we have our 4 cards. So let's take a look at them. Oh, nice. Nice Nami. Oh, here's another one of the ephemera cards. This is something you can fill out and send in. I don't speak Japanese. I speak Google Translate, but these are the things you don't want to throw away. Oh, hey, I didn't even look at that. Got a foil Saji. Now let's take a look. I don't see any print lines. And I haven't seen corner damage. Usually it's down here or here, because that's the way they're sitting in the box. So that's where the corners would hit. So I'm pretty happy to see that. That usually bodes well for the box. And then check the back. Sometimes there's corner damage you can't see on the front, it's on the back. But this one looks pretty clean. And then we've got a red smoker Tashigi card right there. And then this is your next ephemera card. So I like to keep these all together as a group because they've just spent so much time together that I feel like they could. So that's going to be that one. Now, what I normally would do is stop and leave all these and put them right in a top loader and get them in a team bag all together. Unless one of them I think I might grade, then that one will usually go right into a card saver one. All right, let's open one more, and then I'll just say thank you for watching, and if you got anything to add, I'd love to learn more. Oh, there's a Zoro on the front here. That's always good when you get one of the big characters. All right, slide my cutting board under. Make a nice, neat cut. And let's take a look at these last four. And yeah, I keep this. The obi is also, do not throw that away. It's part of the package. All right. Zoro. Saji, doing his little cooking thing. There's the card to fill out. Hey, it's Robin. Oh, I'm sorry. Miss All Day Sunday right here. Another ephemera card, and that means, oh, I missed one below Robin. Oh, that's a cool card. These three. Yeah, so that is kind of my introduction to Hyperval, something I wish was around when I first started collecting. I hope this helps you out, and thanks for watching.